Afya popote unapoitegea KTN News. Karibu kwenye taarifa za mbiu ya KTN, ni kujuze mawili matatu yaliyoibuka na kugonga vichwa vya habari. Yapo mengi tuliyokuandalia. Langu jina ni Hadia Mwasiwa na kusihi uandamane nami kuanzia sasa hadi tamati mwa taarifa hizi. Na mtazamaji, tukingonanga tuanze na yanayojiri sasa hivi, ambapo mawakili wa gavana wa kaunti ya Meru Kawira Mwangaza, Dastan Omari, Elias Mutuma na Mwenda Kinywa wamekosoa mchakato wa kukusanya maoni ya raia kuhusu kung'atuliwa mamlakani kwa gavana wa Meru Kawira Mwangaza, wakisema majina yaliyotumika kwenye tangazo lililochapishwa sio ya mteja wao. Wamesema majina yaliyochapishwa ni Kawira Faith Mwangaza na wala sio Kawira Mwangaza. Vile vile wameelezea bunge la kaunti ya Meru kwamba mchakato unaoendelea wa kutaka kumuondoa mamlakani Kawira Mwangaza ni kinyume cha sheria, kwani tayari kuna kesi kadhaa mahakamani kuhusu masuala yanayoibuliwa. Mawakili hao pia wameibua maswali kuhusu iwapo bunge la kaunti lina mamlaka ya kumwagiza gavana kufika mbele yao. Tuvuke mahakamani moja kwa moja mtazamaji, tuendelee kupata yanayojiri.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, you cannot subject Africans, Mr. Speaker, to only Western traditions and Western Christian traditions, Mr. Speaker. Some of us here, Mr. Speaker, even married through the customary law. Others are married through the Christian law, Mr. Speaker. Some members here, Mr. Speaker, have more than one wife. We cannot castigate them and judge them based on our Christian values of having one wife, Mr. Speaker. Theirs is a different belief from ours. The elders pray that way, Mr. Speaker, and it was in order for the members to go and get prayed for by their elders, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this constitution is what we are using, Mr. Speaker, to impeach the governor. And I would like to bring the counsel for governor, Mr. Speaker, that
which
article,
which counsel about the MK? There are three.
All of them, Mr. Speaker. I'm referring to them as counsel for governor because, Mr. Speaker, they are here on our behalf. They are not here on behalf of themselves or anybody else, but on behalf of the governor of Meru County, Mr. Speaker.
Sorry, I thought you are making a reference to what?
No, Mr. Speaker, I'm referring to them as a team.
Continue.
So, Mr. Speaker, Chapter 6 of the Constitution states as follows, Mr. Speaker. Article 75 of the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. Number 1, a state officer shall behave whether in public and official life, in private life, or in association with other persons in a manner that avoids 1, any conflict between personal interest and public or official duties. 2, compromising any public or official interest in favor of a personal interest, or demeaning the office the officer holds, Mr. Speaker. The governor of Meru County has made us not to be proud of to be Merus anymore, Mr. Speaker. Not very many people, Mr. Speaker, want to be mentioned in the same line with being Merus. You're being asked, are you the ones who elected this governor, who is insulting everybody? The governor of Meru County has broken this constitution by demeaning that office. Our conduct is not the conduct that is expected of someone who holds that office, Mr. Speaker. I know various issues have been cited, from verification, Mr. Speaker, from Mr. Speaker, naming roles after the husband, Mr. Speaker, which can be both be put together to be gross, Mr. Speaker, and qualified to be grounds of impeaching the county governor, Mr. Speaker. This is a serious ground, and we cannot be, Mr. Speaker, be misled to think that the governor of Meru County, Mr. Speaker, has a right to behave anyhow she wants. She has, Mr. Speaker, someone, the counsel for Governor Mutuma, Mr. Speaker, said that the governor was joking when naming a road after the husband. Mr. Speaker, the voters of Meru County did not elect a comedian. The voters of Meru County did not elect a joker. The voters came out in August 2022, Mr. Speaker, to elect the CEO of this county, the governor of Meru County. She is expected to carry herself as the governor of Meru County, not a comedian, to be naming roles after the husband, to be sending the family, Mr. Speaker, on official duties, pretending they are private business, Mr. Speaker. And the council goes on to tell us, Mr. Speaker, that this was a private invitation to benchmark. There cannot be benchmarking in a company that manufactures machines. This is a company that wants to bring machines here to be used for cancer patients. They never went to China to a hospital so that they can benchmark. They went to a limited company that makes machines that are supposed to be brought to this county, Mr. Speaker, to be used and utilized to treat cancer, Mr. Speaker. So they cannot be seen to be a private trip to benchmark, Mr. Speaker, to see I don't know, to visit. This was an invitation to see the technology that we have right now for treating cancer. And Mr. Speaker, someone who carries a pistol, who is a trained officer, Mr. Speaker, to protect the governor, cannot tell us they went there because they are the governor's security and the governor was not there. Let everyone stick to their profession. Let the oncologists be the ones be sent, Mr. Speaker, to benchmark. You cannot use public funds, Mr. Speaker, even to travel to Nairobi, Mr. Speaker. Maybe even their trip in China was funded by China, Mr. Speaker. But you find claims that these officers use money. That's why they were looking for these approvals, Mr. Speaker, for their local travel to, and when they were coming back, Mr. Speaker. So you cannot use a coin of public funds, Mr. Speaker, not even to buy a biscuit, Mr. Speaker, without following the due process. Mr. Speaker, the Council for Governor, that is one Dastan Omari, Mr. Speaker, I've heard something before this Honorable House that we passed the budget, the governor, that the office of the governor is using to illegally employ people, that we are guilty, that we should be guilty as a house, Mr. Speaker, because we passed the budget, Mr. Speaker. It's like telling our parents, Mr. Speaker, it's because, Mr. Speaker, it's like telling our parent, Mr. Speaker, because you sent your child to school and the child was hit by a bus, that is your mistake. We passed the budget, we gave it to the governor. In one instance, we gave her even directions to give us, Mr. Speaker, policy directions on how she's going to buy live animals. She never brought them. She started doing okolea, Mr. Speaker, with money meant for buying live animals without any policy. We gave her money to pay the required number of staff who are at 8 in our office. She used this to stretch and pay people peanuts to employ many without going through the service board. Then she employed, Mr. Speaker, 103 people masqueraded as senior staff, others as cleaners. Then she employed them, Mr. Speaker, and on further interrogation, some of them are mother-daughter, with birth certificates attached, without any shame. And then you tell us we are guilty because we passed the budget, as if we should not deny the office of the governor budget for staff. She goes and overstretches, then we are told not to do oversight. What we are doing is the oversight for the funds we allocated. And that oversight includes impeachment, Mr. Speaker. One of the duties allocated to this House by the Constitution is oversight, legislation, representation, Mr. Speaker. And the fourth one that is not very pronounced, impeachment, Mr. Speaker. And that's why we are here today. The question of gender that was brought by Dustin Omari, Mr. Speaker, I would like to urge the Council to stay and see how the female members of this House will vote. And Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether the voters of Meru were not gender sensitive when they were electing a female governor. And like I suggested to someone who called Mr. Speaker to suggest that we are impeaching the governor because of her gender. And that county as a female governor, I told them to give us tires, we give them ours. Mr. Speaker, traffic marshals. The Council for Governor Dustin Omari said that the traffic marshals have solved so many problems and we should not be talking about them, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, we are not talking about them. Mr. Speaker, there exists an enforcement unit that has been hired regularly in this county, Mr. Speaker. Just because it's not the governor who hired them, she pushed them aside, created officers called traffic marshals, bought some bikes, hired people. She wrote first of all to the County Public Service Board. The letters are here. The Public Service Board refused to create those offices. She negated that advice. She created them herself, then masqueraded them in the payroll as cleaners. Then gave them bikes. Of course, they are doing all these arrests or the arbitrary arrests and everything, and to make us. What was the procedure of employing them? Why not use the existing enforcement officers in this county, Mr. Speaker, who are now jobless because their jobs has been taken over by bouncers, Mr. Speaker, in the name of traffic marshals, who are harassing even people in town? Because if you listen to what the governor was saying from the video is, Mr. Speaker, she was saying, we want to use them to oversight county employees. They're even harassing county employees. We want to use them to oversight people who are collecting revenue to see whether they are eating the revenue. Mr. Speaker, she has her own oversight when she is supposed to be oversighted. Reverse roles, Mr. Speaker. The role of oversight is not ours. It's not for her to create traffic marshals to oversight county officers. It's for this House, Mr. Speaker, to oversight everybody who is employed in this county, Mr. Speaker. The governor, Mr. Speaker, the other lie we were told is that the deputy governor is claiming to have used money, yet he is claiming that he has no roles, Mr. Speaker. It's not up to the governor to decide when the deputy governor has roles. These roles have been allocated by the Constitution. When we went for the Nakuru meeting of all the leaders of this county, Mr. Speaker, the deputy governor could not have been left or go to seek for permission from the governor, because this is one of the instances where he spent his own money to facilitate his staff, to get them where they're going to sleep so that we can attend the State House meeting in Nakuru, Mr. Speaker. Since he was not in speaking terms with the governor, Mr. Speaker, he fueled his car, he did everything on his own. Whereas he should be facilitated as an officer, Mr. Speaker, who came to office through the Constitution. So when the lawyer tries, Mr. Speaker, to give us half-truths, that it's up to the governor to decide what the deputy governor does, Mr. Speaker, nothing can be further from the truth. Then the lawyer went aside to tell us, Mr. Speaker, that the governor of Meru County delivers a mandate, Mr. Speaker, from a manifesto. I never saw her swearing in holding the manifesto, Mr. Speaker, when she was sworn in. I saw her holding the Constitution and promising to abide by it, Mr. Speaker. So we are going to subject her to the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, not to the manifesto, Mr. Speaker. That is a foreign document to this House. The voters elected the manifesto of creating marshals, Mr. Speaker, like they are avowing, Mr. Speaker. Nothing can be further from the truth. And Mr. Speaker, this issue that the government...
Na mtazamaji, utaendelea kufuatilia taarifa hiyo.